Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wigan with Athearn. So glad that you could join us for another live edition of Train Tuesday. If you're joining us live, thank you. If you're catching us later on the pre-recorded version on our YouTube channel, do me and the Athearn team a favor, like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into our channel. And go ahead and comment. We try to reply to all of those comments, and we simply enjoy reading them. So joining me tonight on the live feed, I see a few people have entered the chat. I see BN Green 1970 is here. DG Model Works is in the house. Mr. Sid is here. Wardell, Alco Steam, Ronald, UP8518, Jason is here. Max and Dad 1, Mr. Rob's Cleaning Service. Wow, I could really use you, Mr. Rob, because the layout here is a little dirty. I've got some sawdust on it. I've been working on getting that ready for the next thing, which is stain and finish and getting transitioned over into winter mode. And what does winter mode mean? It means we're all going to be working on our layouts. So we're going to be talking about things that we're going to want to add to our layouts in the next few days. We are running out on time for pre-orders. We're going to be talking about Athearn HO and N-scale Pfaudler milk cars, as well as some old-time 36-foot box cars in the Roundhouse line. So let's see who else is joining us tonight. I see Ronald, Jason, Sammy, Brian, Greg, DG is checked in already. Ronald's checked in from Montreal. Jason coming in from Vermont. And Sammy, he's just saying, hey, what's up? Brian saying, evening, Jim. Greg, hello to you. Thank you for joining us. We enjoy our time here together. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with another Train Tuesday. So remember me saying that we are running the clock. We are just a few days away from pre-orders closing for the month of October. That's going to be this Friday. So keep that in mind as we talk about our first entry, these HO scale Pfaudler milk cars. Now the one that you see on your screen here, this is a Pfaudler milk car for Eldner Dairy, road number 103. And the item number for this, they're still out there. This is from a previous run. This is ATH 84716. Again, that's ATH 84716. They're still out there. Not as plentiful as they were because they tend to sell out quick, but if you really like this this car, you may be able to find it with your favorite Athearn dealer. Now, the 1920s Pfaudler Company, as well as General American Car Company, manufactured hundreds of wood-sheathed insulated milk cars. These were designed as bulk milk carriers. The cars were built around two 6,000-gallon glass-lined tanks and a brine cooling system that was designed to keep the milk at a constant 38 degrees Fahrenheit. These rode on passenger car trucks, and they were often painted Pullman green to match the passenger cars of that era. However, that wasn't always the case, as we'll see in some of the roads that we're offering this month. The special purpose Pfaudler cars hauled bulk milk shipments well into the 1950s. That being said, some of the cars that we've got tonight are stand-ins. I'll let you know which ones those are, meaning that they're very close to the prototype, but they're not exact matches. However, because we've run them before and because they're good stand-ins for operators, we went ahead and offered those once again. So let's get started with the ones that we're going to be offering for October pre-orders. You only have a few days to place your pre-orders on these, and each one that we're going to talk about is available in 3 different road numbers. That way you can build up your roster. So starting at the top, and these 3 here are great representations of the Northeast. The first one that you see is the Boston and Maine. This is a 1950s to late 1960s. Now the Boston and Maine actually still had some milk service right up until about 1969. Now, however, they did not use these particular Pfaudler milk cars. However, we have offered these in the past as stand-ins for those who operate this era and wish to add them to their roster. So we're actually running out of road numbers, and this is one of probably the last times that we'll be offering these Boston and Maine cars The one that you see on your screen is 1929. We're also going to offer two additional road numbers, 1931 as well as 1934. Coming up next is Central Vermont. Now, believe it or not, as old as this car is, the era for this car is 1964. Central Vermont was still moving some milk at this time. It was in the very last days of it, but they did have some like this. This is CV number 538. We're also going to offer car numbers 540 as well as 543. And if you're like me and you grew up in the New England area, you know it's got to be good if it's from Hood. This is the Hood's milk car. This is a prominent company in the Northeast, and their reporting marks are GARE. This is car number 813. We're also going to offer two additional singles, 814 as well as 816. This is a 1920s era car. Now, coming up next, we're going to leave New England for a little bit, and we're going to go out into the wider expanses of North America. Coming up next is Atlantic and Pacific. This is a 1926 era car. Of course, you've heard the A&P. If you're my age or older, you probably remember A&P. The reporting marks for the A&P car are GARE, and this is car number 734. We'll also offer two additional cars, 736 as well as 738. Heading into the 1920s, we've got Renken's Milk. The reporting marks for Renken's Milk is GPEX, and this is car number 754. We'll also offer two additional cars, 755 and 757. And then finally, 1931 era, this is the Hendricks Dairies. It's a colorful car. We're offering this car also in three different road numbers. The reporting marks for Hendricks Dairies is HENX, and this is car number 1939. The other two cars that we're going to be offering are 1961 as well as 1970. Now let's talk about the features going back to the car that we started at the beginning of the program. So these are going to be basic cars, but you'll be surprised they do have some neat features about them. Separately applied brake wheel, molded plastic underframe with separately applied brake cylinder. These have screw-mounted express type trucks. They're also going to have metal wheels with RP25 contours, and the McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers are body mounted. Of course, these are highly detailed injection molded bodies that basically mimic the wood sheath cars of their time. The other thing about these, this is an era where a lot of these cars had some really nice decoration to them, and we're going to mimic that in the deco department. Now, the minimum radius on these cars is 18 inches. So even if you have a small layout, maybe you've got just a simple 4x8 layout, and you'd like to add these to your layout, they'll navigate those 18-inch radius without any issues. So whether you have a large home layout, a small layout, or you're lucky enough to have a big club layout, these will find a great use on your railroad. And for you steam era guys, these are perfect for you. Now, N scale guys, we didn't forget about you. We also have these available in N scale. Now, the one that you see on your screen here in N scale, this is the Merkel car. This is car number 748. These are actually in dealer shelves right now. We just delivered these a couple of months ago. The item number for this is ATH 24036. Again, that's ATH 24036. Now, like the HO scale, you're going to have the same options as far as roads. You're also going to have the same road numbers. For the benefit of time, I'm not going to repeat all of the road numbers like I did in HO. However, if you missed that part of the program, you can either go back, or if you're in real time, you can go to athearn.com, check out the new announcements tab, and pull up the PDF file for the N-scale Pfaudler milk cars. So again, we've got the Boston and Maine. This is 1950s all the way into the 1960s. Great car as a stand-in. Again, we've not offered the particular car that Boston and Maine used in N-scale, but again, this is pretty close. And if you're into operations or you just simply like that McGinnis logo, you can certainly add this to your fleet. 1964 era, Central Vermont, again, three different road numbers. And hoods, if you're a little bit more into the earlier days, say 1920, and you want to run some steam, these are great cars to add to your steam era layout. we're going to offer hoods, the 1920 version seen here, in 3 different road numbers. And again, just like the HO scale guys, you're going to have the same options as the HO scale guys. 3 road numbers each. Again, the Boston to Maine 1950s or 1960s, 1964 era Central Vermont, and 1920s hoods. So leaving the Northeast again, we've got some other options for you as well. We've got the Atlantic and Pacific. This is a 1926 era car. Can certainly be used throughout the 1920s into the 1930s. 3 different road numbers available for the Atlantic and Pacific. Likewise, Renken's Milk. This is a 1920s car. They're going to be available also in 3 different road numbers. And then finally, we have Hendrick's Dairies, a little bit newer, not as new as the Central Vermont or Boston and Maine, but 1931 era. And again, their reporting marks are HENX. 3 different road numbers available. And again, if you want to look those up at athearn.com under the PDF new announcements, you can see what road numbers we are offering. They're virtually, they're the same as the HO. Now, N scale guys, just because you're smaller doesn't mean we're not going to pack these cars with detail. These are going to have, and this is what I love about Athearn N scale cars, is they have screw mounted trucks. That really helps with some fine tuning. You don't have just a simple pin that's a friction fit. You actually have a screw mounted truck. They're going to have machine metal wheels. These will operate on code 80, which is pretty much standard on a lot of N scale layouts, to the finer code 55, and yes, even code 40. They're going to be weighted. They're also going to have body-mounted McHenry scale knuckle couplers. Again, the body-mounted couplers in N scale allows you to really do some nice switching with these. They track so much better. They're a lot more reliable to have than the older style Talgo type couplers. And like the HO, they're going to be highly detailed. Be surprised at how detailed these little cars are. The wood sheath cars come out really nice in N scale. And of course, they're painted for realistic decoration. So what you see here is what you're going to see on your finished product. Now, one thing that I do want to let you guys know is typically with N scale, the minimum radius is usually about 9 3/4 for most layouts. I'm sure there are exceptions out there. However, the minimum radius on these guys, and it's because they have the passenger car style trucks, is these are a minimum radius of 11 inches. So keep that in mind. If you've got a really small layout or a really small module with a really tight curve, anything tighter than 11 inches radius, these are going to have a very hard time navigating that. So we recommend 11-inch radius or better. Again, these are perfect if you're into N-track, if you're into Fremo N, or maybe you're fortunate enough to have a large N-scale layout for yourself. And if you're a steam guy in N scale, these are great to add to your collection. So there you go, Pfaudler milk cars, both in HO and N scale. I'm going to minimize this for a little bit and see if there's any questions on the milk cars before we go on to our old time cars. And let's see, let's go back a little bit to see if there's any questions while I was going through the talk. Let's see what we've got. So Stephen Wagner has posted, fellow New Englander, I'm here for a while until we get a family call marking our younger granddaughter's birthday. There you go, congratulations. The CV milk cars are accurate. They were used in 1960s to Boston. There you have it. That is true. Getting some folks joining us a little later than normal. I'm not going to be doing any updates on ETAs, just to let you know. So we are monitoring our social media feeds. We're also, if you haven't signed up for the Athearn newsletter, I highly encourage you to do that. Here's a little inside information for you guys. Yesterday and then again tomorrow, we've been working on shooting new models in the photo studio. So there's going to be some new Genesis models that you're going to start seeing in the social media feed. And if you sign up for that Athearn newsletter, This week, you'll get an email letting you know what all the new stuff for November is. You'll also start seeing what's going to be coming in stock soon, and it's not going to be drawings. It's going to be actual photographs of the production models. So keep track of that. Just for brevity here and for other questions, I am not going to answer any ETAs right now. Let's see what else we've got here. A lot of people really happy about the Hoods cars. That's good to hear. Let's see what else we got here. A lot of folks are happy with these. And no, these particular milk cars did not have ice hatches. That was a different design. This is these had a totally different design. You're thinking of a reefer. All right. Well, it doesn't look like there's too many questions on that. Benjamin, not going to answer that question for you tonight. I think I've answered that question a few times on social media for you, so slow the roll on that one. All right, so let's go next to our next thing. We're going to talk Roundhouse now. Now, of course, Roundhouse is HO. Goes without saying, but we're going to be talking about some old-time box cars. Back before 40-foot box cars, there was the 36-foot box car. And if you're a steam era guy, you're going to want to pay attention to these. Now, these are the Athearn Roundhouse 36-foot old-time box car. And I wish I could have found them from time for the show, but in my stomping grounds of New Hampshire, I actually found some old remains of some 36-foot box cars. I believe they were lettered for the D&H, but it's been a number of years since I took those pictures, and I'm not even sure if those cars are still around. It was kind of cool to see those in an old Boston to Maine yard in central New Hampshire. But nonetheless, if you're someone that's modeling the steam era, these little roundhouse cars are perfect for you. Now, the one that you see on your screen now, it may be available. This is from a couple of runs ago, so it may be harder to find. And this is actually back when it was still a ready-to-roll model. These have now gone into the Roundhouse line. So the road number for this is nickel plate. It's 10724, and the item number for this is ATH 5184. Again, the item number for this particular car that you see on your screen now is ATH 5184. Let's talk about what we're going to be offering for this run. Now, you're going to need to pay attention because some of these cars that we're going to be offering for the month of October, they're going to be available as either singles or singles and a 3-car set. So we'll go through the road numbers so you know what each road number or road is going to have for sets. So let's go ahead and start with our first. And we're going to start with the Santa Fe. Now, the Santa Fe, again, these are all roughly 1920s, 1930s era cars. The Santa Fe car that you see here is 24299. We're going to be offering this particular Santa Fe car in 2 singles as well as a 3-car set. So the other single car that we're going to offer is 24521, and the 3-car set will include road numbers 24522, 24529, and 24535. Now, again, if you missed all that, you can go to athearn.com, go to the new announcements tab, and select the Roundhouse 36-foot old-time box car PDF, and you can see them all listed there. Representing the East Coast, we've got the New York Central. We're also going to offer this as 2 single cars as well as a 3-car set. The first single car you see on your screen here is car number 53438. Additionally, we'll offer car number 53449 as well as the 3-car set, which will be 53450, 53455, and 53459. Up next is the Pierre Marquette. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to offer 2 singles as well as a 3-car set. So the car that you see on your screen, that's one of the singles. It's 30190. Additionally, the other single car will be 30192, and then the three-car set will be made up of the following cars: 30194, 30197, and 30198. Next, we've got the Mini, the Minneapolis and St. Louis Railway. Now, this one's only going to be available as two singles. The car that you see on your screen now, which is 26250, as well as car number 26257. But we're not done. We've got two more to show you tonight. Sticking close to the upper Midwest, we're going to offer a Sealand car, 14809 and 14826. And then the Wellsville, Addison, and Gailton Railroad. Again, we're going to just offer this as two singles. Now, the reporting marks for the Wellsville, Addison, and Gailton Railroad are WAG. Pretty easy to remember. 4001 is the one that you see on your screen now, and we will also offer 4007. Now, let's go back to our earlier example and talk about the features of these cars. So, because they're a product of their time, they're going to have arch bar trucks, as can be seen here. They're going to have machine metal wheels with RP25 contours. So even though they're an older model based on an older prototype, they're still going to work on the same HO scale track that any of our other models would work on. Separately applied brake wheel, of course, and these will also have body-mounted McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers. Again, they are painted and printed for realistic decoration. However, keep in mind these are Roundhouse, so they may be appropriate as a stand-in. Some of them are as close as we can get. These are not Genesis. These are Roundhouse. They are entry-level cars. That being said, the researchers do put a lot of time into these cars, and whenever we can, we try to make them as accurate as possible. Now, the minimum radius on these cars is 18 inches, obviously. They're short little cars. The 280s that everybody's asking about, we're going to hopefully have those here by winter, so probably around the holidays. And these would be the perfect cars to go with those 280s that should be here by the end of the year. So there you have it. Everything that I've talked about so far tonight. Yeah, you don't have till August, April Fools. You've only got until October 25th, which is this Friday. It's coming up this Friday. That's only a few days away. So do yourself a favor. Whether you're an HO scale guy or an N scale guy and you want to add some unique cars to your layout or your modules, you're going to want to go down to your dealer and make those pre-orders. All right. So with that, we've got time for a few questions. Let's see what's going on out there in your world. And if you've got some questions for Athearn, now's the time to ask. I will warn you, just like I said a little earlier, I'm going to keep I'm not going to really talk about ETAs because we're answering those through social media as well as our Athearn newsletter. So let's see. What do we got here? Brian's happy about the Pierre Marquette. That is good. Definitely a fallen flag. Yeah, definitely. It's been a while since we've offered these, and they actually do really well, the little 36-foot box cars. Here's a good question by Trackside Mike. Hello, Jim. Are you going to Train Fest? Yes, we are going to be at Train Fest. That is coming right up, too. That's coming up in November. It's the weekend before American Thanksgiving, not Canadian Thanksgiving. Otherwise, I'd be late. But it is going to be coming up real quick. We're going to have a booth there. Some of the things that we've got in the studio right now that we're taking pictures of, we're going to have there for you to see. So U50s are going to be in attendance. There's something you're going to want to see. Remember, the U50s have been updated. They're a lot heavier than before. They're going to have a lot more pulling power. They've got 4 speakers to them now. They've got a lot of upgrades. So stop by the booth, come see those. Talk to Mark or I about the details, and we'd love to see you there. So yes, check out Train Fest. It's going to be here before you know it. Let's see what else we've got. Let's see. Jonathan wants us to rerun the Roundhouse box cab diesels. I'm not even sure. It's been many, 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 many moons since we ran those. They would probably need a little bit of work on the molds just based on the fact that we haven't run those in quite a while. And let's see. That's what we got there. Yeah, see you there, Trackside Mike. Introduce yourself. If you go to especially if you watch Train Tuesday, if you go to a show that I'm in attendance, stop by and talk to me because I'm a modeler. I want to hear what you guys are doing and let me know where you've seen myself or any of the Athearn guys. Let us know where you're from, what you're doing, what you're working on. Let's talk trains. That's the best thing about train shows. Anthony Borden. That's kind of ironic. We're talking about milk cars. Those milk cars, Boston and Maine, awesome, Jim. They will go with those Genesis engines of Boston and Maine. There you go. Yep. It's a little bit late or earlier for what I model, but hey, modeler's license, right? Rule number one. We went to dinner at St. Louis. Well, sometimes it's hard to keep track of everybody that's out there and trying to keep uh, what do you call them? Your avatars with people. Benjamin says U50s, are they going to be Union Pacific and Southern Pacific? Absolutely. And don't forget, I know, trigger warning for some of you guys, we also did a Legendary Liveries GE demonstrator, which is really kind of cool. It never really existed because we all know the U50s were mainly made for the Union Pacific. So, but what if they hadn't been? What if General Electric had done a demonstrator and we set our researchers to it, and the researchers did a great plausible paint scheme of what a U50 demonstrator would look like. We're going to have all those at Train Fest, so stop by and take a look at those. Let's see. What else? Ronald wants to know any review of your layout. Well, the one that you see behind me, now that we're finally getting to the cooler season and we're starting to come indoors, the only thing I've done to it is make the shadow box and worked on the lighting. As the winter goes on, you'll start seeing structures and things of that nature. Plus, I've got some other surprises up my sleeve. It's not all going to be just my N scale layout. We've got some other things. But if you come to Train Fest and you get some pictures of your layout, stop by and let me see them because we all like to get inspired that way. Let's see what else we've got. Any other questions? A lot of folks planning on coming to Train Fest. That's good to know. Charles Woods wants to know, Jim, are you going to produce any more of those modern 40 and 45-foot piggyback trailers and N scale in the future? Yes. Yes, we will. The 40s have been around for quite a few years. Perfect for you guys that are modeling the 1960s into the 70s, right up until, well, I mean, basically even 80s. They weren't as common by the 1980s, but if you're modeling the 1980s, you can still use them. And then our newer model, which we introduced about a year ago, the 45-foot in N scale. Yeah, we're definitely going to be running more of those. Now, that being said, if there is a road or a carrier that you wish to see us produce, please do us a favor and drop us a line over at Athearn-product suggestions at Athearn.com. Again, that email address is Athearn-product suggestions, all one word, at Athearn.com. That goes directly to product development. No, you're not going to have a two-way conversation with them. It's basically we were just using that as an outlet to see what road names, what projects we should work on next. We thank you for that. And who knows, we might do your favorite freight carrier and the trailer that you're looking for. Let's see what else. A couple of questions in there about pretty much some suggestions. So yeah, those are good suggestions. Go ahead and use that email address that I used in the live feed. Terry Poole wants to know, what about 53-foot spine cars and trailers? Yeah, it's just a matter of time. I don't know when we'll be doing those, but it's just a matter of time. We'll probably be doing another run of those. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, an HO scale. I'm sure we're going to be doing some probably going into next year. We still have some big announcements, even though the year is almost over. And I'm hoping that I can do a nice announcement at TrainFest. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Eric, you're in the neck of the woods where one of our product developers is, John. He's up in that area. Who knows? You might not see me, but you might see someone else from the Athearn team, because hopefully we can get ahead of some of our work so we can start going out and meeting you guys. Sid wants to know, any hints for Friday? Yes, I've got a hint for you. It's probably going to be HO scale, and it's probably going to be a locomotive. I'm just kidding. Let me see if I can give you a proper hint to be thinking about for Friday. Let's see. Well, I can tell you there's going to be some BNSF stuff. I can tell you it's going to be modern BNSF stuff, and I think you're going to be happy with it. Steam guys, you're going to want to pay attention. And no, it's not another big boy release, but it is an HO Genesis Steam release. So there you go. We've got some modern stuff for you modern guys. We've got some Steam. And the great thing is I can tell you this much. There's some great freight cars that we're going to be talking about that's going to allow you to add to your fleets. So there you go. Let's see what else we got here. Saw some other questions in here. Michael wants to know, any chance about doing some N-scale 53-foot well cars? Nothing in the works immediately right now. Now, we do realize we're a little bit of a backlog. We're starting to slowly, take care of that log jam. There's a lot of things that cause that, but that's slowly getting better. And as the year goes on, you'll see in 2025, you'll start seeing us get caught up. Once we do get caught up, we're going to be looking at new projects. Right now, though, nothing like that going on. Sparky wants to know, any Conrail coming up? Yes. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Conrail's been getting a lot of attention lately because you guys have been asking for it. Sparky wants to be a mod for the channel. Well, if we get any bigger, we might have to hire some of you guys to be a mod. There's some nights it gets really, really busy. Here's one from BN Green, 1970, says Genesis Steam. I would love to see the UP 8444 in Greyhound paint it wore in the 1980s. Yeah, that would be really nice. That is a cool paint scheme, and that is something that I would share that enthusiasm. Robert's asking for UPS trailers, 53-foot specifically. We'll have to look into that. We do have a UPS license. It's just a matter to make sure we've got the correct tooling to do those trailers. Rico says, hope you make the 35-foot containers, because Athearn already has 20, 40, 45, 48, 53, and you did remember the 60-foot. I'm glad. Foot containers, and I'll start with the Sealand 35-foot container. Well, there you go. You never know what the guys are working on. Let's see what else we've got on here. Oh, let's see. 45-foot trailers folks are asking for. Ronald, I think you've asked this question a couple of times, so I want to put that up there. When are you guys going to put keep alives in your engines? A lot of people ask us that, And we've actually looked into it because the Soundtrax decoders that we use do have that capability. So even if you've got a locomotive that doesn't have a keep alive in it from the factory, it is easy to put one of those in there. However, we do know that there are some people that would rather have the locomotive with the keep alive already in it. Now, one of the things that has stopped us from doing that has been because of cost. And by us adding a keep alive, currently anyways, it was making the cost really, we thought would be a deal breaker for you guys. Now that doesn't mean that we're never going to put keep alives in our locomotives. Right now, we don't see a viable option to keep the cost down to add one. However, that could change. It's not something that we ignore. We see a lot of you guys asking for it. Maybe someday. Right now, we don't have any plans to do that. And another question that we also get, I might as well take care of the elephant in the room, is Blue Nami. A lot of folks are asking, what about Blue Nami? Blue Nami is a great thing. If you don't know anything about Blue Nami, I suggest you go over to the YouTube channel for Soundtrax, check out George's videos, and Blue Nami basically allows you to run your locomotive with a tablet or a cell phone. It's really cool. And a lot of guys are asking, hey, are you ever going to add Blue Nami to your locomotives? It's not quite as cut and dry as some. Some locomotives will accept the Blue Nami really easily without any modifications. Some locomotives, though, depending on how the frame was designed, there may be some rework that needs to be done. Again, it's a matter of cost, it's a matter of customer demand, but as we march on, if we start to see more and more demand for it, it may be something that we offer in the future. So we're always open to that, but at the same time, we're trying to keep the cost as low as possible because we know this hobby can get pretty expensive, especially if you're looking at Genesis class materials. Let's see what else we've got here. A lot of guys are jabbing, just have clean track work. I myself personally like to have live frogs, especially in N scale, so I don't have to have that capacitor. But yeah, you know, everybody's got opinions, and opinions are different. And as a manufacturer, we have to look at all those opinions. We can't just make a certain segment happy all the time. So we're always looking. Let's see. I'm looking at the time here. I'm going to have time for one, maybe two more questions, and then we're going to move on. I'm going to let you guys get back to it, and then I'm going to get back to it as well. So if you got a question for Athearn, the Athearn crew, go ahead and put that out there now, and then I'm going to let you get back to it. A lot of guys pretty excited about containers tonight. So anything that you've got as far as suggestions, use that email address. It's athearn-productsuggestions@athearn.com. Jason's got a little update. He's a Jim just went to the newly remodeled Hobby Town in Knoxville and bought Athearn 67951 for the Truesville Southern. Well, thank you for that. And the remodeled Hobby Town, that sounds exciting. So, yeah, it sounds like you're fortunate enough that you've got a hobby shop nearby. So, Jason, if you saw anything tonight that interests you, be sure to get that pre-order in before Friday. Let's see what else we've got. One more question. There's a lot of comments. Clean your track. Yeah, that's pretty. You know, one thing too that I will share with you, especially the N scalers in the room, don't use a bright boy on your track, especially with the finer track. The Code 55 that I have behind me, I just use a paper towel. That's literally all I do. I just wipe it down, and my locomotives will run fine for 3 or 4 days. The shadow box also helps, but same thing with the HO. If I'm using the finer Code 70, I prefer just at the very most those Woodland Scenic white pads that they have in their track cleaning kit. I signed off on it. This is a personal preference, so take it for what you will. Your mileage may vary. I don't like the abrasive pads. I like to just wipe them down, and I've never had any trouble with that. All right. So BN Green, we're gonna put your comment up there because you summed it up nicely. Bullinami are capacitors. The other issue is to find space for them. That is absolutely correct. I would imagine it's expensive for Athearn to rework the frames on a lot of locos. Yeah, that's true. One of the things that we started doing is we started putting more lighting features into our locomotives. Now, at first glance, you're probably thinking, okay, light up number boards. What's that going to require? A little hole for the LED? Actually, no, it's not. There's quite a bit to it, and there's quite a bit of mold work. And of course, that mold work on the part of a product developer isn't something that he does on his free time. That's his job. So we have to pay him for that. Likewise, we have to pay for the research, we have to pay for the time, we have to pay for the tooling, and all of those things have to be considered. And so you're absolutely right. In some cases, just the way the Blue Nami, and in some cases a capacitor, it would have to depend on whether or not any tooling would have to take place. And tooling is a big part of manufacturing model trains. All right, well, that's all I see for tonight. I want to thank you all for joining me. Don't forget on Friday, usually about 8 o'clock Central Time, you're going to start seeing the YouTube videos for the new announcements start populating the YouTube channel. So go over to the YouTube channel, and while you're there, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be one of the first guys on your block to know the new Athearn stuff's coming out. There are some exciting releases for the month of November, and that Friday is the perfect day. You can go to your hobby shop, you can pick up something that's in stock, you can pre-order the October items as well as the November items. So keep that in mind. We've only got a few more days. Until next time, everyone, I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some good modeling, and above all, high grades. Take care, everyone.